some. I've worked with a program where we run into a lot of ex-offenders, and it is a very sad situation because a
Very
lot
much
of
so.
people are simply, we're all human. And we've all done things, and we've all had consequences that we had to deal with. But
Exactly.
once we've paid that penalty, once we've dealt with that situation, for a person to be penalized 25 years later, 15 years later, something's wrong, something's broken. And I appreciate someone who is willing to speak out because I haven't seen a lot of people speak out. You know, the program that I deal with, we speak out, but we can only speak out at a certain level.
Exactly.
You know, being in the state house, being able to go before the people who change the laws, the
Exactly.
people who can speak for the people is important. And that's why I think having a Tampani and having someone who is a resident, someone who's experienced things and who really has a genuine compassion is
Yes.
going to make all the difference in all of these things. So we're going to talk about it a little bit more because that's awesome. What you're doing, but there's a lot of different things you're doing. If you would like, tell us who Tatiana Denson is today.
Who Tatiana Denson is a everyday ordinary person that I believe God has touched my life to become something extraordinary for the people, not for myself, but for the people in this community. And the way that he has done that is to allow me to go through a lot of the trials and tribulations that I've went through, you know, being a single mother, being a teen mom, and despite all odds, living in public housing, being on Section 8, working at the Section 8, working in the Section 8 department. My life has had all kind of interesting twists and turns.
Yeah.
Purchasing my first home at the age of 28 years old. The reason that I'm running for office is, number one, I was called to do this because I would never have thought about running for a state position. I've had many people come to me and say, why don't you run for something smaller? But Tatiana is not a quitter.
Absolutely.
And that is apparent by the things that have went on in my life, and that despite all odds, I still kept going. And not only do I go out on the campaign trail to campaign, but I go out to sincerely and genuinely inspire other people by sharing my testimony, by sharing my story. Politics is not for everyone. And I don't desire to be the typical politician. I desire, and I will always say this even when I'm elected, to be a public servant, because we must bring back what our forefathers who founded this country, we must bring back the message for the people and by the people.
Absolutely.
And the only way that we can do that is to empower the people. But in the new age of politics, that power has been taken away from people because of money. Excuse me. Because of money. And I really want to bring the genuine value of what America stands for and the state of Florida. And that is, again, for the people, by the people, empowering the people in District 61 and throughout Florida to know that we work for them, we being elected officials, public servants, politicians, lobbyists, whatever, whoever is in a position of power to change issues that impact our families and our friends in our daily lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's amazing. Because it really is easy to sit back and talk. It's very easy to sit back and have opinions. And I've had so many conversations with people, and I've been there at certain times in my life too, you know, but realizing that somebody's got to do it. And if it's in you, then you can have the ability to do it.
Exactly.
You know, and that's a lot of times where we count ourselves out. We have the ability to get our voice in that house because all we have to do is put our vote on the paper for the voice that we need for the house. You know, and I think a lot of times we count ourselves out as citizens, as people who go to work every day, as people. We are the America still.
Exactly.
You know, and a lot of times that's covered over by a lot of stuff that we see, a lot of things that we have seen, a lot of things that we feel are unjust.
Exactly.
But unless we stand up, those things are going to continue. And I want to just encourage everybody to go out and to have their voice is that vote.
Exactly.
Their voice is getting up out of that chair, start talking so much and doing something and acting for the things that they want to change. They can make a difference by voting, and that's something that we really want to empower everybody with knowledge about is your vote does count. I've seen so many people who say, well, I don't vote because it doesn't matter anyway, but it does matter. One of the things I want to share, what Roe versus Wade, or even when they took prayer out of the schools, it was funny because it was one lady screaming. One lady was screaming and nobody paid her attention. Nobody paid her so much attention. They didn't think that she counted. And so they were like, oh, they would never take prayer out of school. They would never do this. They would never do that. But that one lady kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And that one lady, because nobody went against her, was the one who got them to vote to take prayer out of school. And so while we're thinking one doesn't count, 100% does count.
That's right.
Yeah. And so I just want to use that example because a lot of people don't know that's how it happened. It wasn't massive amounts of people. It was one lady who would not stop. She would not stop for what she believed in. It's not a judgment. It's what she believed in. And although people tried to blow her off by ignoring it and doing nothing because they did nothing, she changed everything. So don't be deceived. That vote does count.
Definitely.
It does. So you've told us a little bit about what qualifies you for running for office. What are some of the other areas that you're really passionate about?
Well, I am definitely compassionate and passionate about people getting out of the situation that they're in by being afforded opportunities. I don't claim to have all of the answers, but I do claim to have the strength and the courage that it will take to go to Tallahassee and be a voice on the floor. Yes, I know this is not a political show. However, we all know we're not oblivious. We're not totally oblivious that the Republicans do rule the majority of the House in Tallahassee. I know that regardless of who is the majority, that it still takes one person, as you just explained yourself, to be vocal enough to keep pushing until they see some type of results for our community. So overall, I'm passionate about taking our community to the next level as a whole. Whatever my constituents need, whatever their desire is, that's what I see fit to take to Tallahassee and to be a voice for them. Some of the things that I want to see done and that I would like to enact, we need more programs for our teens. Our young men and our young women, they need something else to do. They need job and employment opportunities. They need things to do after school. They need programs during the summer so they're not out. Idle time is the devil's workshop, so we need to have funding coming back to our community, District 61, where we can implement programs that will be effective for our teens. Of course, economic development is a hot topic issue, always has been, always will be, and that's on a local, a state level, and nationwide. So economic opportunities being created for our district, and some of the ways that I would do that would be we may have to bring big companies from out of state to come into the state, into our district, by offering certain tax incentives that already exist, but making them appealing as to see why, and adding more benefits in addition to the tax incentive. And when I say benefits, not anything that would come out of the taxpayers' pockets, but letting them know what the community offers and what they can get back from the community by just investing in the community that they desire to do business in.
Absolutely. That's a great topic. One of the things I was thinking about when you were talking was I'm not even sure how that whole system works. So say you got elected.
Okay.
And you wanted to take one of these issues before them. What exactly, step by step, is the procedure for getting something in front of the right people? How do they operate in it as far as making a decision? And then how would that trickle down into grants, into monies for the community?
Okay, thank you. That's a very good question. Well, the way that it works is it is definitely your tenacity when you get to Tallahassee. I mean, people have already told me without realizing they're speaking it into existence, but people have already told me, oh, when you get in the seat, you'll see that it's not that easy. I already know it's not that easy, but I also know that only the strong survive.
Absolutely.
I also know that everybody is not qualified for the job. So I do want to add a plug, Vote Denson, in August of 2014, that not only do we need to vote, everyone or anyone who's watching, but we need to vote for the right person.
Absolutely.
If it's me who, your heart is led to vote for, by all means. But we need to vote for the right person that we know in our heart of hearts will be effective and efficient in advocating for our community. The way that it starts is that you have to get on various committees in Tallahassee. They have an education committee. They have a tourist and transportation committee. They have energy committee, economic committee. So that's the way it starts, is that you get on one of those committees or you establish relationships that will be effective for the short term and the long term. Once you get on those committees, you still have to vote within those committees. You still could be outvoted. Depending on the committees that you're on, depending on the relationships that you establish, those are how you start building upon getting your needs or getting the needs of the community vocalized. And then if it is able to get out of committee or out of session, then it is then taken to the floor, and that's where the voting and all those things take place. So an idea could be actually turned into a law depending on how much support it gains. And as far as advocating to bring funding back, again, the relationships that you establish. And so that's my first mission, day one, is to establish your relationships with those who can make a difference within District 61 for the betterment and for the good of all of those who live there.
Awesome. That's awesome. I never really knew how much went into that, but it's been a long time since I've been in school, so that would make sense. Okay. You have a position on civil and criminal justice. You want to explain that a little bit more?
A position, could you elaborate?
It says, and I'm pulling some of this from your stuff that I got. You stated you want to champion restoring the rights for those with background issues. In other words, how would that happen there? Once you got voted in, would that be a committee too? Is there a committee for restoring rights, or is that some other?
There is.
There is a committee for restoring rights.
There is actually an executive committee, but that is normally under the governorship. Whoever the governor is, actually has an executive clemency board, and those issues are reviewed on that board or that committee.
Okay.
It all goes back to establishing relationships, and I think that it will be able to be done. I don't think that it will ever be, and I hate to say this, but I'm just a very upfront person. I don't think that it will ever be where they will do away with automatically giving rights back. But I do think that we can lobby and we can advocate for people with background challenges to see if they can at least reduce the years. Maybe if a person has did their time, then equivalent to the time they did, you cut that many years off of the time it will take them to become a productive member of society again. So I do think that it can be done, but I know already going into it that there is compromise and it has to be done. But I will not sell myself out or our community out just to get nothing done. Absolutely. But I will definitely be vocal, and I will definitely be courageous in challenging those in leadership with compromising and what effects do they really want to see, and how bad or how much support is it that they're willing to give up if they don't compromise for the greater good of all the residents in the state of Florida.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big issue. That's something that is really big. Tell us a little bit about the plans for this, and I had never heard of this, funding for evidence-based prevention and intervention for juvenile offenders.
Well, again, that goes back to advocating. At the end of the day, if we look at news, if we look at, again, local or national news, it goes, and I'm sure you probably watched President Obama on TV and you may have thought to yourself, why doesn't he say this, this, and this? It's definitely about choosing your battles, However, it is still always at the end of the day about being vocal. And I'm going to go back to your example. That was a great example you used at the beginning of the show. Reference prayer in schools being taken out because of one person. So no one in this community can tell me that one person doesn't count.
Absolutely.
But it's how vocal will you be? How hard will you push? And how much are you willing to give up to get what it is that you want for the greater good of a majority of a population? Okay. So I say all of that to say, I will definitely be vocal in, because that's some of the programs that I speak of when I talk about our teens, our young men and our young women in the community, that if they get in trouble once or before we need to get our children before they get in trouble, not after they get in trouble and doing evidence-based, but actually prevention-based programs. And so the only thing that you can do is to advocate for those dollars and for that funding. You can speak with business leaders who may want to invest that in something that does not require a vote on the floor. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to work on establishing relationships with those that are in politics and that are not in politics. And I am going to negotiate how I can be a benefit to them and how they can be a benefit to the community overall with getting funding put into our community for the programs that we need.
Awesome. So as far as you've been out, because I met you out.
Yeah.
How is all of that going? I know we talked a little bit about it, but as far as you going out, are people responding in the community to you? Do you know, have you done any research to keep?
Well, I think that's a very good question. Again, I will say that I am very happy, and I know you said out and about, and I appreciate that, but I would just go ahead and tell the listeners or viewers that when we met at Walmart, people are always surprised to see a young Black woman, to be honest with you. They're always surprised, number one, to hear my story and to see and hear what I come from, and then to see me in the light that I present myself upon the time of them meeting me. So I will say that the response is always overwhelming. It's always a sense of, I see a look of inspiration almost on everyone's face that I speak to. And I say everyone because whether they like me or not, whether they support me or not, they can't do anything but be impressed with, wow, you're actually doing this despite all odds. I don't have all of the money. I don't have any money. VoteDenson.com to make a contribution.
Make sure you remember that.
However, I think that they can see in my eyes, and I see the reflection of commitment. And that was one of my campaign slogans as well, inspiring generational change and being committed to the community. You have to have a sense of commitment.
Absolutely.
And I just see inspiration in the faces of those that I speak to out in the community. And how it's going is that sometimes you have people, like I have a very committed volunteer that volunteers every Saturday with me, and she lives in public housing. So that means the world to me, that someone that is making a sacrifice despite their own situation and living conditions, they believe in me enough to come out every Saturday and work until we are able to see something done, until we are able to help get myself elected, a person that will truly be committed and that is truly committed to the community and the needs of those in our community.
Absolutely. And, I can't talk enough about how one person makes a difference, because all it takes is one person telling one person, telling one person, telling
definitely,
one person.
Word of mouth is definitely key.
And as you are out and as you are meeting all of these voters, it would be great to see them sharing the word, not just being inspired as much as that's good.
Exactly.
But we need them to call their cousin who's a voter and their coworkers who's a voter, because we're down to a place where we need to get you established, get you where you need to be so that you can speak for us. And that's what we want more than anything, is a real voice. It's like, the blind leading the blind. If you just say, well, my vote doesn't count, and just let it go wherever it's gone. That's how we've gotten in the situation right now.
Exactly.
But imagine opening your eyes and imagine and saying, you know what? No, I don't want to do that much, but I can lead my family to the voters, to the voting place. I can lead my friends to the voting place. Have you heard of this lady named Tatiana? Did you know about this lady named Tatiana? You know, and that's the type of stuff we want you guys to know about. We want you to be inspired. We want you to kind of think more out of the box, because that's really how we're going to get where we're trying to go with this. That's how we're going to empower the communities. We're not just going to think happy thoughts. We need to think happy thoughts that lead to happy actions, that lead to the things that we want, so that choices have consequences. And I remember I used to tell my kids that all the time. And my daughter, she's very spicy. Let's say she's spicy, right? So I remember she was like 8 or 10, and she did something she was told not to do. And I said, now I know that you knew that if you did that. She said to me, well, Mom, you told me choices have consequences. And I thought about my choice, and I decided I want this so bad, I would just face my consequences. And all I could do, of course, she lost her cell phone and everything else afterwards. But the point was, she understood at 8, and she was able to make a decision. It was not a right or wrong, a decision to say, you know what, I know this has consequences, and so I'm going to do this, knowing what the consequences are and being willing to face them. But I think a lot of times, or we as citizens, we go to work every day, we come home, we just take care of our kids, we look at the news, we do these basic things, but we don't understand when we don't choose, you're choosing.
Very much so.
When you don't choose, you really are choosing. That's all we do day and night. And there still will be consequences and residual. So we want everyone to be empowered. We want everybody to have a voice. We want you to choose something that you're willing to face the consequences for, instead of letting it be a,
like you say, not choosing.
That's it. Not choosing, which is choosing. Never forget. Whether you decide something distinct or not, there is going to be something that's going to happen.
Exactly.
And it may not be something that we like if we don't stand up for ourselves and stand up for our community. And, you know, I just want to inspire everybody with that, because a lot of times we don't, and I've been guilty of it, you know, I just want to do me. You know, I do me. That's a big thing I do. I'll do me, you know.
And I want to say something, too. When you say about being inspired, I see the look of inspiration, because at the end of the day, maybe I should say motivate. Because inspiration is one thing and motivation is another. But at the end of the day, they're one and the same.
Absolutely.
The reason why they're one and the same is because they both inspire you to do something. They ignite something in you, some type of reaction. So when I say I see the look of inspiration on potential voters' faces, them being inspired is what will have them tell their mother and their father and grandmother, I met this young lady and she came from, you know, she lived in the projects just like I do. Or I met this young lady and she bought her first home just like I'm a homeowner. So inspiration to me is big, because them being inspired is the only way they're going to go back and tell their friends and family about me. If they just meet me, get a card, and sign a petition, I mean, nothing is guaranteed.
Absolutely.
Nothing is guaranteed that they're going to go back. But if they're inspired, and inspiration is something that normally doesn't die down, and if it does, it comes back in your spirit later on, and it still motivates you to do something.
Absolutely.
Because when we get up and go to work every day, we may not want to go to work, but those bills inspire us to get up and go anyway.
Yes,
you know,
they do.
So inspiration is key, and inspiration does equal action.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I believe, and I will continue to inspire potential voters, because inspiration is the only thing that will inspire them to want to get out and do something. And like I told one young lady that said, well, I don't want to sign. I don't have time to sign right now. Don't wait until something happens that affects you and your family to want to get involved, because by the time you do that, it's already too late.
That is a good
It's already
point.
too late, and we have to stop doing that. And so I am not going to be the candidate that just says, oh, well, just vote for somebody. No, vote for me. Vote for a person. This is not my first time running. This is my second time running. I had the courage to run against a 6-year, deeply entrenched incumbent. And we need someone like myself in Tallahassee that will not do like my opponents are doing. They ran because their friends convinced them to run against me, because they don't think that this young black woman that's lived in public housing, that's been on Section 8, has what it takes to be there. No, I take that back. They know I have what it takes, but they couldn't stand it because of the fact that I don't have the fancy degrees and I don't fit the normal and typical bill. So unfortunately, destiny will take place whether they like it or not.
Absolutely.
Because I truly have a commitment and I truly have a genuine desire to serve the people. I've been doing it for 6 or 7 years. I'm 34 years old now. And if you Google me, the good and the bad, you'll be able to see some of the things that I've done in the community. And I've been doing these things despite my age. And to be honest, and not to toot my own horn, but toot. I've been doing these things, and I've done a lot in my 6 or 7 years prior to running for office than some of these people that are out in the community that have been in the community have done in their entire life. And I understand why they're upset, because I would be too. But at the same time, when I get older, I don't want to be that person that is upset at a younger person for doing something that we should be encouraging our young people to do. It doesn't have to be running for office, but whatever it is they decide to do positive and to make a change and a difference, we should be inspiring them, and we should be willing and able to pass that torch. Because that is the only way that we can wake out of this slumber that we've been in as a community. And here in Hillsborough County, we need fresh blood. We need fresh new faces, not someone out of these elite circles that everybody knows somebody that knows somebody. Their whole family did the same thing. We need fresh blood, and it's time for a change.
Absolutely. I love it. And, while you were talking, I was thinking to myself, a lot of times we don't think as out of the box as we need to, because while you're talking, I'm thinking that would be an amazing way to be invested in your community. It would be just to go out and vote, just to be able to volunteer with you. Just to be able to go out and speak for you. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's whatever time you have. But just that little bit of time as a seed into your tree of the fruit that you want to produce in your community. Way back when, like you were saying, we need to go back to the beginning. And in the beginning, remember, the value was on the man that built the street. The value wasn't on the man that could buy the building.
That's right.
It was the man who used his hands to construct, who was looked at as the strength, who was looked at as the key of America. And now it's gotten to the point where they're looked down on, and the other person who didn't do anything a lot of times inherited money, and there ain't nothing wrong with it because I wish I did. But the thing is, it's the mentality behind it. It's the fact that we've shifted, and going back to your first love is the most important thing. And what is important for us? How do I rebuild my community? How can I invest in my community? Because invested in my community is invested in my children. Invested in my children is invested in my lineage.
That's right. Future generations.
It's not as simple as, let me go to work from 8 to 5. Okay, let's try to do a middle class type of, or, whatever. Just, okay, we can pay our bills, so let's go on. It's not like that. That's how we got where we are.
Exactly.
But we're not gone, so we're going to work this thing out. Okay. What would you say? We've talked a bit about it, about voting, about people talking to their friends and talking to the relatives. Can you think of anything else that you need the people could do to help you to stand forward in front of your competitors right now? What would you need from the people?
Well, I, again, definitely appreciate that question, because at the end of the day, none of these great ideas, none of this passion, none of this commitment can be taken, and anything can be done with it without support. And I encourage all listeners, all viewers, to genuinely think about contributing their time, their talent, and their treasures and resources. Right now, we are definitely in need of volunteers to help with getting petitions signed. A petition is something that you get from registered voters within the community to get your name on the ballot without having to pay. It's also a great way for me as a candidate to make one-on-one direct contact with the potential voter and not just pay the money and not just hire a lot of people to go out and connect with these people that I should be connecting with. So we need volunteers to get petitions signed. I definitely need contributions. The only way this message can get out and can effectively get out where it touches those who may not be out in the streets, like where I met you out and about, we need contributions. I mean, President Obama is the greatest example to me of what $5 can do if 5,000 people do it. And that's what I need, is not to think that when I say, please contribute on Facebook, or please contribute if I'm saying it on this show, contribute. Don't be afraid of the word. You have to sow the seed, whether you're spiritual, whether you're not. What goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. It all boils down to what you invest. What you put into anything is what you will get out.
Absolutely.
So I encourage all of you all who are listening, who are viewing this, to go to www.votedenson.com, contribute $20 today, $500, $50. I'm throwing different amounts, but whatever your heart is led to do, that's what I need for you to contribute. But contribute something to what you want to see come out of it. And that's that you want to be able to pick up the phone with someone you can relate to, with someone who is genuine, and voice your concerns to them, and know that when you hang up that phone, if they can't do something about it, the issue will still at least be worked on and it will be addressed. So again, I need volunteers to help with petitions, to help with anything it is that you can help. If it's a yard sign in your yard, if it's helping at an event, please go to votedenson.com to sign up. We have volunteer forms on the website. And you can also call 813-644-9159, which is the campaign line. And I'm also on Facebook as well, and Twitter and LinkedIn. Please, please, please reach out to a candidate that's truly committed, has been when my other opponents were spectators at the debates that I was in last year. Now they're running. So again, you have a person before you that was not afraid, that will not be afraid, not now, and not when I get elected will I forget about the constituents and those in District 61. I haven't forgot about you before. I jumped right back out there after I lost. And regardless of what anyone says, I am the front runner in this race, because I already have 2,000 and something people behind me that did vote for me last time around.
Awesome.
And I expect that 2,000 to come back out again, times 4, to go ahead and knock my competition out the water. And let's get to the business of getting our community and taking it to the next level.
Love it, love it, love it. And that's really what it's about, is believing. Just believing. Everything comes from a seed, and that seed of believing, that's faith, and that seed of faith can take us to all kind of places.
Definitely.
I saw this thing today. I'm always randomly going somewhere, but I'm always going where I'm supposed to be going, so pay attention. Anyway, there was this lady today. I hardly ever look at TV, but there was this story, and I think I'm supposed to tell it. She was born half deaf, this lady. Mm-hmm. And her father wanted to inspire her. So what he did was he taught her how to ski without skis, with just her feet.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so she loved it. She became professional at it. She was great. When she turned about 15, I think it was, or 16, she took a fall, a really bad fall. So where she started out partially deaf, she became totally deaf.
Oh, wow.
And so she got discouraged because she had injuries, so she couldn't do what she loved. And so she was speaking about how she gained weight. She was really depressed. There wasn't a lot of things that brought her that kind of joy. But one thing she said was, the way you know what you're destined to do is that thing that you would do because it gives you so much joy you can't hardly stand it. And so she went on for a few years. She became 32 years old, and all of a sudden she said, I'm going to go back and ski again. So she met this gentleman. This gentleman said to her, no. But he went on and took her under his wing. She, within 2 years, was skiing again on her feet, took another fall, broke her hip, broke her leg, broke a few of the different parts of her body. Within months, this lady was back skiing again with her feet and deaf. So she couldn't hear what they would tell her to do when they told her what to do. And I'm sharing that because according to the world, she was counted out. According to the world, everything about her went against all that she did. But because she had the faith and she believed in what she did, she was able to achieve things that the world would have never given her credit for. And so that's how serious this thing is. We have a destiny to complete. And that very thing in us, the very thing in us that we would do even if we never earned a dollar doing it, the very thing that brings us so much joy that we can't imagine not doing it, that's our destiny.
Exactly.
You know, and so destiny cannot be altered.
No, it cannot.
So that's the great thing about it. No matter what happens, when it happens, why it happens, it still is not going to change the outcome, because destiny is destiny. It is set in place and it's going to happen. So I want to inspire you and I want to encourage you, because I know that you have that passion, that fire in you. And what you're saying is 100% true, because you believe it, because it gives you that thing. It's your destiny. And so you will be there. And I 100% believe it. It's not even about a title. It's simply about a destiny.
Exactly.
Something that can't be altered. So I'm
Thank
just
you very
encouraging
much.
you.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
You're welcome. So we have a few more minutes. If you want to talk a little bit about one other thing, you encourage entrepreneurship, business classes with juvenile and adult prisoners. Was it prisoners? I'm trying to read it.
Well, what that basically means is that people that get released from prison, that we will, as a community, collectively, business owners, small business owners, leaders in our community, come together to show them or to create trade programs to train them how to get their own business. So even if they're not able to be hired by someone, a business in the area
because of the
or
barriers,
the community, because of the background challenges, that they will learn how to do their own business, that they will learn how to create and develop a business plan, develop a business that one day will hopefully grow to where they can hire people that were in their same situation. And then it becomes a snowball effect. You know, we get one person trained, we get one person, their business growing because we're all in the community collectively doing business with one another. We get a state representative that's not afraid to fight for the funding that's necessary and the grants that are necessary to make these small businesses successful.
Absolutely.
And then we can start tackling and really seeing some real results from one person.
Absolutely. I love the one person thing. We're all one person. I claim humanity.
Definitely.
I claim humanity. And I think that that's important. This is not about perfection. It's not about intellect. It doesn't take anything to just stand up for what you believe in, except you making a choice to stand up.
Exactly.
And when you talk about entrepreneurship, that's a big thing for me. I love to talk about entrepreneurship because it's very important. It's very important. It's something about it. I've worked with agencies. I've done different things. And I have to say, I've had the most joy, the most peace, the most, what's the word, where I felt like I was doing, I was doing what I'm supposed to do, but not just what I was supposed to do. I was doing what I loved. Exactly. And it was like I was working, but I wasn't working. Like what I do now is like I'm on vacation all the time. I don't work because it's natural for me. It's natural for me to want to empower. It's natural for me to want to express. It's natural for me to want to help people to be better because I had to learn a lot of things on my own.
Exactly.
And with The Heart of the Matter, the book that I wrote, it's a self-help book. And I made it small on purpose because I simply wanted the heart of the matter to be put in. Each one of the lessons are simply about something I went through at the moment, some discovery I made about me, some discovery I made about the way I was thinking, how I needed to shift that. Okay. I remember all the things that I would think, why is this happening to me? How could I ever come out of this? Why didn't I have a mom? Why didn't I have a dad? Why didn't I have a regular life? Why did I have to go to foster care? All of these things. And something about it working for people it empowered me because I come from such a level of poverty, but nothing empowered me like my entrepreneurship. As soon as I owned a business, I felt so inspired. I did things that I would never have done because it's something about it. And I think that's a great key. What you're talking about is very important, that people know their options. And a lot of times when you come up in certain families and you've never seen entrepreneurship, you just don't even let it enter your mind. But I want to inspire everybody that anyone could be an entrepreneur.
That's right.
Anybody could be an entrepreneur. And I can even tell you for a fact how to be a successful entrepreneur. Do what it is that you would do if you did it for free. That is the key to your destiny. It is the key to your wealth, and it's the key to your happiness. And I know that 100% to be true. It's great having you. I was so excited that you agreed. I was so excited.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, and I want to have you back so that you can keep us updating on what is going on and maybe some different things we can do for you.
Definitely. We're going to actually, I'm planning a campaign kickoff party that will be next month. Okay. And actually, my birthday is February 11th.
Oh, yes. coming up.
Yes. So I definitely would like for the community to come out and meet the candidate that desires to represent them. So if you'll have me back, which you already said
I will, yes.
I will definitely keep the viewers and the listeners updated. Awesome. And thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, thank you, Tatiana. And thank you so much for logging into the heart of the matter, where everything matters to us. Anything having to do with you. Good night.
The Heart of the Matter is impacting lives globally. You're invited to tune in with Lorena Jefferson every Tuesday at 7 p.m. here at Talkwad Studios for more tools of empowerment and inspiration. For more information, contact Lorena at prestigewellnesscenter2@yahoo.com or by phone at area code 813-735-5668. Until next time, remember, mystics swim in the same water that psychotics drown in. It's simply a choice of how you see the water.